Where do you want to start? I guess at the beginning somewhere. It was a crazy beginning.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 most bingeable true crime series.
This is a happy day. Woohoo!
So, what twisted in his head is hard to say.
And yet, to see that, it was like, holy cripe, somebody just pulled a plug out of my heart.
For this list, we're only looking at true crime TV shows and miniseries, including dramatizations of real crimes as well as documentaries. Let us know in the comments which one you'll be binging as soon as this video is over. Number 10, I'll Be Gone in the Dark.
Every investigator I know that's been given the opportunity to examine this case feels that it's the case that they want solved before they die.
The Golden State Killer's reign of terror lasted through the 70s and 80s, but it took another 30 years for the FBI to finally catch him. In 2018, he finally confessed to over a dozen murders and many more serious offenses. But one woman named Michelle McNamara spent those decades investigating the crimes herself, eventually writing a book that became the documentary I'll Be Gone in the Dark in 2020.
I'm so sad and full of self-doubt, and then I'm not. Where can this all lead?
McNamara died in 2016. 2 years before the killer, Joseph James DeAngelo was brought to justice.
After 4 decades of searching for this guy, it came down to testing a piece of tissue from his trash can outside. It was a 100% match to the Golden State Killer's DNA.
Featuring talking heads from McNamara's husband, iconic comedian Patton Oswalt, as well as the criminal's victims and the cops who worked the case. This series is as phenomenal as it is tragic. Number 9, Ted Bundy, Falling for a Killer. He's one of the most famous serial killers in history, but as the documentary stars say, it's a story desperately in need of a female point of view.
He knew he was going to go after women for their good nature, their willingness to help out, their empathy, their belief that they should be nurturers, that they should be kind, and especially be kind to men.
This is a series on Ted Bundy from the perspective of the women in his life, primarily his girlfriend, Elizabeth Kendall.
He has spent a lifetime observing women and deciding who's going to become a victim. And I think he could tell when women had the codependence issue where they wanted to help him in any way they could.
The 5 episodes chronicle how his crimes impacted not only those he killed, but also those who survived his attacks, those who investigated him, and those who spent years living in fear before he was caught. It's a new, refreshing take on a story you've heard before, which is why you will not be able to stop watching.
At this point, the judge has recessed the jury until Saturday morning. At that time, the 12 members will decide whether to recommend the death penalty.
Number 8, Evil Genius, the true story of America's most diabolical bank heist. A bank heist like no other. This 4-part series is the story of Marjorie Deal Armstrong and the robbery she masterminded.
I'm not Miss Congeniality, but I'm not the worst one either.
In rural Pennsylvania in 2003, a man named Brian Wells robbed a bank for a few $1,000s, equipped with a homemade shotgun and collar bomb.
And I think it's at that time that he realized that it is a real bomb.
I'm not lying.
I don't think he realized until it started beeping.
Tragically, local police and the bomb squad were not able to defuse the bomb, which detonated and killed Wells before the latter arrived. This documentary charts the circumstances behind the crime, why it was done, how it was carried out, whether Wells himself had anything to do with it, and who Deal Armstrong herself was.
Once the spotlight came on to Marge, she was much more erratic with her letters. They went from, normal margins into stuff all over the page.
One of the weirdest crimes in American history, the twists don't stop coming in Evil Genius. Number 7, Tiger King, Murder, Mayhem, and Madness. Coming just at the start of the global lockdown in March 2020, there are very few people who haven't seen Tiger King. And those who haven't almost certainly know what it is anyway.
I'm gonna try and get some good shots, so make sure y'all get me some promo pictures in there. No, I want you up front with a still camera.
But it was so wildly popular for a reason. And there's never been a better time to settle in for a rewatch or to finally see what all the fuss is about. It charts the story of Joe Exotic, owner of a zoo and a big cat collector, and his longtime feud with Carol Baskin, owner of a big cat sanctuary.
Joe had some pretty twisted ideas, but I just took it as jokes.
The cats themselves aren't the focus, though. Exotic's life is, along with allegations that Baskin is a murderer. It is a wild ride from start to finish.
Those who do things in a certain way, whether on purpose or accidentally, get rich.
Number 6, how to fix a drug scandal.
This isn't just a scandal about bad science. It is a scandal about bad law.
Close to 50,000 different cases were found to be compromised when 2 different chemists working in separate crime labs independently of one another were found to have tampered with evidence. Sonia Farrick and Annie Ducan were both arrested for their crimes in Massachusetts just a few months apart, revealing flaws in America's justice system and leading to tens of thousands of convictions being overturned.
So it became this just incredibly large case with thousands of convictions and guilty verdicts being questioned because of what Annie did.
Ducan was falsifying evidence, leading to wrongful convictions to make herself look like a model staff member, while Farrick, a long-term addict, was using the narcotics she was supposed to be testing. This documentary chronicles both sensational stories concurrently. Number 5, McMillions.
And all I saw was McDonald's monopoly fraud with a question mark. And I go, what is that?
If you're getting a little worn out from all the dark and violent crimes that have received the documentary treatment, McMillions is something of a palate cleanser. This miniseries follows the fraud case involving the chief of security of the agency that McDonald's was using to promote their Monopoly game. Between 1989 and the early 2000s, Simon Marketing's Jerry Jacobson was able to get his hands on winning stickers, stealing them and selling them on to a nationwide network that eventually got the attention of the mafia, who wanted a share of the profits.
You had Mike Frenchie's with the gas, and then now you have this, the Monopoly. That's really the highest 3 money makers of the mob so far.
For over a decade, Jacobson's scam flourished, until finally gaining the attention of the FBI. It's FBI agent Doug Matthews, an incredibly enthusiastic figure who went undercover to catch the culprits, that makes McMillions one of the most entertaining docuseries out there.
I could have looked at that sticky note and said, yeah, whatever. What is that? What is that? So without the informant on this case, never would have happened. Never would have happened. It started right there.
Number 4, love fraud. We all know to be wary of catfishes online, but this is catfishing like you've never seen before. It follows the life and times of con artist Richard Scott Smith.
Good night, Goobies. You make me crazy, and I'm crazy about you. And I love you. I really, honest to God, love you.
Smith's MO was seducing women online, even marrying some of them, and defrauding them of huge amounts of money. With many women adding their stories about Smith to the narrative, and the documentarians themselves actually putting up money for the investigation, it's one of the most intriguing shows out there.
He knew right from wrong. So, what twisted in his head is hard to say.
Love Fraud will keep pulling you in with the allure of being a real ongoing case at the time it was filmed, not to mention being a solid documentary anyway.
You have not only affected my life, but dozens and dozens of others of whom I had the chance to speak with personally. You are a monstrous human being, and I believe that the devil disguises himself in so many ways on this earth, of which you seemingly fit the bill.
Number 3, Mindhunter.
So how can I help?
David Fincher's critically acclaimed drama charts the rise of modern criminal psychology, as the field was developed by a small FBI department, the BSU, that studied the behavior of serial killers and offenders. The 3 leads may only be loosely inspired by real people, but the killers they interview are some of America's most notorious.
I could kill you now pretty easily. Do some interesting things before anyone showed up.
Among those encountered are the co-ed killer Ed Kemper, Charles Manson, and the BTK killer Dennis Rader, while Season 2 focuses on Wayne Williams, the killer convicted of the Atlanta murders, but also features other criminals like the son of Sam, aka David Berkowitz.
I'm not some crazed sex killer. I needed a name that explained who I really was, that I was being controlled by a 3,000-year-old demon.
And if you want an even more detailed look at Williams, the 2020 documentary Atlanta's Missing and Murdered: The Lost Children will tell you all you need to know. Number 2, Murder on Middle Beach.
Do you ever wonder, like, who could have done it?
All the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
A far more personal documentary than many others, Murder on Middle Beach is about one man's attempts to solve his own mother's murder. Barbara Beach Hamburg was killed outside of her own house in 2010, with the police making little to no headway in the investigation. So, her son Madison took matters into his own hands, fighting with law enforcement to get access to the vital information they didn't share.
So how'd it go? Good. I mean, they don't want to give us anything, but they want the doc. They want, like, all of our files.
The murder remains unsolved to this day, but the story is gripping and will keep you engaged.
Oh my God. There's unread messages from before she died. So there's no way the police have seen this, dude, right?
Correct.
It's clear that nothing is as it seems on Middle Beach, with Barbara's friends and family still struggling to reconcile what happened.
If you're out there, the person who killed my mom, you must be living with such a weight. And I feel sorry for what you must be carrying. If I could ask you one question, it would just be why.
Before we unveil our number 1 pick, here are some honorable mentions. The Ripper. This series sheds a light on one of England's most infamous modern murderers.
It was the biggest crime investigation there had ever been in the United Kingdom. No police force had ever experienced that level of pressure.
Quiz. An ex-army major and his wife tried to scam their way to a £1 million jackpot.
Charles, you've just won.
The Assassination of Gianni Versace, American Crime Story. Season 2 of the Ryan Murphy executive-produced drama focuses on the iconic fashion designer's killing.
No.
Making a Murderer. The debate around whether convicted murderer Stephen Avery was innocent still rages.
Steve, everybody's listening. What do you want to say today?
I'm innocent.
What else do you want to say, Stephen? We can't tell it without you.
Jeffrey Epstein, Filthy Rich. Get the story of how Epstein got away with it for so long from his victims themselves.
He made me feel like, basically I was lucky to be in his presence. It was just a glorified manipulation thing he had going on that worked.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. The Innocence Files. This Netflix series is a deep dive into people who have been sent to prison for crimes they didn't commit, and how they eventually got their convictions overturned. Following some of the most prominent cases from the US's long-running Innocence Project, it is a harrowing look at miscarriages of justice.
They always say you don't question God, but I did.
Many of the people the show follows were convicted of violent crimes, some of them at very young ages, by what the series consulting execs describe as, quote, government's reliance on junk science, discredited and suggestive eyewitness identification procedures, and prosecutors who engage in misconduct to win at any cost.
He said, your teeth mark matches. I said, how can this man ain't bit nobody?
Since multiple incidents are explored throughout the episodes rather than one sprawling case taking up a whole season, it is easy to binge watch this attention-grabbing and important series.
I've been on death row in Mississippi for
5 years, and I know if I can get someone to look into my case, I know they will easily see that they have the wrong person locked up.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.